Okay, there we are. Lindsey, thank you ever so much for joining me.
Thank
Um, First of all, the world has been turned upside down by this terrible pandemic
you.
that we're trying to deal with. How how are you? How have you been affected? How are you keeping up? Has it affected work personally? How's it been?
Well, I think it's safe to say that I speak for everyone when I say it sucks.
Yeah,
But in terms of work, for the initial 21 days, we were on the lockdown, but we started working straight after that. So we've been busy. Yeah, we've been working
yeah,
with obviously the right protocol in place, which is very annoying because
yeah,
obviously when you're at work, you want to socialize with your colleagues. We can't
yeah,
even do
sure.
that. So they're
Yeah,
quite strict, but it's good. I'm glad. Um, Personally, to be honest, it was very depressing for me at first because I had quite a lot of things planned for this year, and all
yeah.
of that fell through the carpet. So it was depressing, but I learned to. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm much better now. I'm in a much better space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fab. So I mean, yeah, it's a sort of double-edged thing I find, because it's of course it's all of the terrible stuff, but what's been nice to me is sort of the time to reflect and to introspect and all of that stuff. Have you had time to do that, and have you come up with any sort of
I
insights out of it?
Yeah, like one of the things that, like I said, like now I said, there's a lot of things that fell through the carpet that I
Yeah,
had planned for the year. But it is also, this pandemic has also given me time to really think about, is that really what you should be doing?
yeah,
So I've had to let go of certain things that I always thought I wanted to do because I now had the
yeah,
time to really think through. So yeah, I've had to let go of some dreams, and I've learned new ones. I've had some time to think about myself and the position that I am in, and it's actually been a very significant year.
yeah. I'm
One would
sure. I'm
one would
sure.
think,
Yeah,
oh, pandemic, like life took a pause, but it's been very significant in terms of where my mind is at, my relationship with myself, my
yeah,
relationship with people who are close to me and who are not close to me, people I've had to let go of, and it's been very significant. Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. No, I think a lot of people are in that boat because, suddenly the noise stops, and there's a sort of sense of clarity, that one has at the moment, which is quite nice. Yeah, I mean, I saw, your post the other day on Instagram. I thought it was wonderful, talking a bit about your skin and whatever. I mean, I found it personally um, quite moving, because it must take a lot of courage to be that vulnerable and honest, because I mean, I think we live in a culture that, I mean, we're always trying to sort of put forward the best face, or, or whatever, and yeah, I mean, was it a big step, to do that publicly?
It was, to be honest, a friend of mine challenged me to do that. And
Yeah,
with the challenge, I was thinking, oh, look, I don't really want to do this because my skin was in a terrible condition. And but then I thought to myself, ah, Lindsay, don't be such a wuss. Just post the picture. And
yeah,
once I did it, I'm really glad I did. I was very cringy when I did it, but I thought, um, there are people out there. This is a normal thing. Like it's
yeah,
it's terrible for me, and I'm struggling with it. And there's been nights when I've cried about it, but I'm not the only one. And I just wondered what what would happen if I put it out there and let people know, hey, I'm also struggling with this.
yeah.
And the feedback has been so good, so good.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, part of doing stuff like this as well, and everybody I've spoken to, sort of sharing. I think people underestimate the impact that it has to share your experiences. To be open about it. And I think especially, people look at people like yourself, who are sort of have this perfect idea about this person that we see every day in a completely contrived kind of way, and to have the courage to be, that open and honest, I think is of immense value, to people, in different
Yeah,
ways.
I think especially on that note, with with social media being some where people scroll and you see these perfect people all the time, it's
Mm.
going to bring you to a place where you go, you know, I don't like myself because these people are perfect. So it just changes something in you when you go, oh, this person is not perfect. That's great. I encourage that.
Yeah,
You as a not perfect person can still go out and achieve things and still do things,
yourself,
because
yeah.
it's not only for perfect people, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. So you're in Joburg now. You've got this wonderful job. You're an actress on, um, for those in my, who'll be listening who aren't South African and who don't, watch South African television. It's an Afrikaans soapy about. It's sort of centered around a hospital, a hospital life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and you've been doing that for how long now?
I've been doing it for about 2 years now. Yeah.
2 years, yeah. So you're based in Joburg now, but you grew up in Cape Town, is that right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, where in
In
Cape Town was
Atlanta.
that?
So it's a little dorpy
Yeah,
next to Melkbos. Um, yeah, Atlantis was my hometown. I've been there all of my life. I did schooling outside of Atlantis though.
okay,
Um, but only up until 3 years ago, I've been in Cape Town all my life. Yeah.
brilliant. And was acting always part of the dream? Was that always what you were going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. My mom was this highly creative person, and she used to
yeah,
direct productions for the church, like huge productions. And I remember the first time I participated in it, I was like 3 years old.
wow.
And there's still those videotapes, those fat
That's
ones.
VHS ones, yeah. There's big cassettes.
One of those where I'm doing my first production, and I'm this 3 year old girl just looking at I'm busy in the production, but I'm
Wow.
looking at the production behind me. So it's all I know. It's all I know. And up since then, I always said, this is what I want to do. I want to entertain people. I want to tell stories. And it was always in
Yeah,
the cards. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, so you went on to study at Stellenbosch University when you were at school. Went to study acting.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, what was some of the what was your experience at Stellenbosch? And I mean, a bit like music. I think people have this idea that it's just a hobby, and but when you do it seriously, there's a lot to get into, and is it something that you would um, suggest to people who want to get into the acting world? Because I mean, there are people who didn't study, didn't go down the formal route, who are in the industry, but would you recommend going through that? And what are some of the things that you got from doing it?
You know what? Um, to be honest, I did not, how do I say this? I did not take full advantage of my studying opportunity. I wish I was more serious about it in
Yeah,
terms of theory, like studying the theory behind it. I always took my practicals very seriously because I'm a very hands-on person. But theoretically, I wish I was more invested. Um, However, I do believe that I would recommend any form of studying. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a degree, because it's very theory orientated.
yeah,
So I think it just depends on where you would like to focus on as an actor. Like I think I would have done pretty well even if I had just done a little bit of a college course, which was more
yeah,
practical. I do believe it is important to study though, because
yeah,
there are certain tools that you just need to learn, but I don't believe that it necessarily has to be a degree.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I get
but
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
answer the question.
Yeah, no, it does in a funny way. It does. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and then after you studied, did you get work immediately, or did you have to do other stuff? I mean, was it quite easy to make a break in the industry, or
Um, I didn't think I didn't think that I would get into the industry. Um, I went in thinking, okay, cool, I'm gonna be an actress and I'm gonna conquer
yeah,
the world. Um, but by the time I graduated, I was so scared and I didn't know where to start. I didn't know anyone in the industry. And then I just got to a place where I thought, you wasted 3 years of your life. You're not going to do any of this. And then in the first year, I went to work at the call center
All right.
while I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do with myself. And let me just say, I was very entertaining on the calls. People used
I'm
to sing
sure.
for me. I used to sing for people. So, but then one day I just didn't go to work. I was laying in bed and I thought to myself, Lindsay, what are you doing? This is not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That was after 3 months of working there. And the next day, somebody told me, look, there's an audition. Let's audition. I got into that audition, got the job. And from there, I've just been working.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So I
great.
think I just need to make the decision that I'm going to pursue this.
Yeah, I suppose it's about sort of committing,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you allude to your singing as well. Is that something that you get to do as much as you want? Is it something you want to do more of, or
Oh, I have such a weird relationship with singing
right?
because I love singing. It's essentially what I want to do. What I want to do with my life is go around the world and just sing to people, especially worship. Right? I love
Yeah.
worshiping and leading people into worship. But I would also like to do some secular singing. I'm a big fan of love, so I want to sing some love songs.
Yeah.
But I have a weird relationship with singing because I don't know music, to be honest. I want to sing, but I don't know music. I just know gospel. So I still need to educate myself in terms of the type of music that I like and those kinds of things. Yeah, but I would love to pursue singing, yes.
Yeah, that's great. I suppose it's just, I mean, and as a musician, it's a bit like you've been doing with your acting. It's a bit just about sort of immersing yourself in the thing. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, so that's so. We touched on the pandemic, but it's not, the only thing that's been going on around the world. There's a lot of stuff that's happened, and about a month or two ago, there was this horrible thing that happened in America, um, where this man George Floyd was murdered, and it sort of reignited the Black Lives Matter movement. Also, shortly after that, we had a sort of highlighted attack of another woman in South Africa, something that happens all too often. Do you, I mean, you as a woman of color with a considerable sort of platform, do you feel some sort of responsibility to be vocal about stuff like this? And do you think, what kind of responsibility do you think all of us have, and what can we be doing, to work on this
You
stuff?
know, I don't know if I'm grateful or regretful that we are doing this a month after all of this has happened because I was so angry. I was
Yeah.
so angry. So I'm kind of grateful that I don't get to express that anger, but I'm
Yeah.
also regretful that I can't. But it angered me immensely. I remember there was one day where all of this was happening and something happened at work. And I remember driving home crying because I was so angry and I felt so helpless because there was nothing that I felt like there was nothing that I could do. Um, and then I also had an experience with one of the girls. She's 11 years old. She came crying one day and she said she had this dream. She's a young black girl.
Right.
She
Yeah.
cried and she said, I had a dream, and I asked her to tell me the dream, and she said she dreamed that her and her father was driving, were driving, and the cop stopped them, and the cop just started shooting at the dad, and she shouted, stop, stop, and then he just started shooting at her. So that angered me even more because I'm thinking, an 11-year-old girl cannot
Yeah.
be concerned about these things.
Yeah.
Um, and in that moment, I realized there are young girls that need to have some kind of, they need to hear a female voice
Yeah.
that they can relate to, of color, that can encourage them, that can educate them, that can teach them. that they don't have to be afraid, to give them some kind of confidence in themselves, that they don't need to go through life being afraid, because
Yeah.
that was something that was in the past, and also educating them on how to deal with situations if they find them in a situation of racism or abuse or that kind of thing. So yes, I do believe that it is my responsibility to have a voice, not only because I have influence, but as a woman, whether people were following me or not. I think all of us have a responsibility to be able to speak against it, and raise our children in a way where they can know that they are powerful. They do not have to fear or, um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I also, I mean, I was having a chat with a colleague of mine, and we mentioned the fact that, for instance, we are um, basically the only two faces of color in the orchestra that I work with regularly. Um,
Mm,
you know, they have rotating people and whatever, but two of a sort of handful of people of color in the industry, and um, one does feel some sort of responsibility to um, you know, to take that on in a way. It's about how one goes about this and how to invite conversation and
yes,
yeah,
yeah. And
um,
the responsibility isn't only to other fellow people of color, but also to people who don't know, people of other races
yeah,
who are in a position where they are the persecutors, but they are so ignorant. I don't mean that offensively, but they are ignorant in terms of what their skin color means to us, whether they do something or not. So we have a responsibility to educate those people as well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, you know, had a conversation with some people, and this is the point. The reason why people are talking about this stuff is exactly because they want to invite conversation. It's not because we're pushing away or any. It's actually because I suppose our white compatriots, have a big part to play in changing all of this stuff. And as you say as well, we also have that responsibility to educate them, and to have the courage, to do that honestly and openly. You Um, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there is hope, I think,
Yeah,
it can only get better,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And what are your plans next 5 to 10 years? Do you have any projections, career moves, so on?
Um, I have some personal moves.
I'm
Um,
sure.
I don't know. Okay. In terms of career, I do not want to be. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in Bangladesh forever. I mean, I
I'm
love
sure, yeah.
working, but I think sooner than later, I would like to move on. Maybe do some movies. I'd love to do some movies, and then of course, I'd like to start my singing career. Um, I'm dabbling a bit into that at the moment. I don't know when that's going to happen, but hopefully soon. Yeah, I'm going to make some singing moves.
Yeah, that's cool. And so you mentioned movies. What's your perfect role? What kind of thing is your thing? What kind of character? What kind of is your
I always get casted for this sweet little girl next door thing. So I just want to move away from it completely. I want to do some action, or I don't know, just something
some
different, even if
drama?
it's musical, or yeah, just some meat.
Yeah, I'm
Um, and I'd love to. I've always wanted to have a reason to work out really hard. So if I can get this hardcore role and
sure.
with all my fat, I would love something like that.
Yeah, no, because it must be. I mean, you've been doing Vinlanders for 2 years, so it's quite a long time with one character in a way. Do you feel that you sort of it sort of morphs into your life, or are you quite good at separating?
um, no, I don't think it morphs into my life. I don't think so. I think Chanel, the character, she's
Yeah,
very young, and they write her quite naive, which I am. I am young and naive, But I
The
think
joys of youth.
I think there's quite a lot of differences in terms of myself and my character, and I don't think I think I do a pretty good job in separating it. Yeah,
Cool. So you're one of those people who can leave work at work, you know, and go
yeah.
home.
However, it like if there's a big storyline and it's very emotional, and um, I have to work harder at letting that go, because it's quite easy to sit with that stress and go home with that stress and be stressed at home.
Yeah.
So it gets a lot sometimes if the storyline is quite hectic.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Just as a last thing, I always ask people this question. This wonderful quote by Horace Mann. It says, you know, be ashamed to die until you've scored a victory for humanity. Um, what what is your what would you like your victory to be? You know, when you hopefully in a few hundred years, you know, leave this place.
Well, I I've always had a heart for children and
Yeah,
children and women, and specifically, should I say lost children? I don't know, but I have a heart for like orphans and kids
yeah,
that have been abandoned, and so I think what I would really like to achieve is I'd like to find myself in a position where I can be like almost like a mom to these kids, where I can educate them and give them opportunities to just be better. You know,
yeah,
that the excuse of not having parents or not having opportunities is no more. Um, I would like to just give them opportunity, put them in a space where they can be
yeah. I
creative
get
and
that.
express themselves, and actually feel like human beings. Yeah, that's something that I'd really, really like to do.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. Um, Look, it's been really lovely chatting. Um, I'm sure we'll do this again in some form again in the future. Um, but thank you ever so much for your time. It's been really lovely. Um,
Yeah.
and I hope to hear you sing more, you know, sometime
Hope
soon.
so.
Um,
Thanks.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. And yes,
Yeah,
I would love to have the chat with you anytime soon. You cool. I like you.
I like you too, man. I love your energy. It's great. Lindsay, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.